not so much dust coming out, because the material are like a glue. They are bound together like a glue. I can show you this job as well, so you understand a little bit. You don't see here, but there were rocks inside this ground, under the ground, of different size. Not everywhere. Some jobs, some areas had more rocks, some areas had less rocks. See, the cars were still going. We can do only half of the road. We don't have to stop the traffic. In this case, cars were still going half of the road, which is important for you because you don't stop your operations. You can have dump trucks going one way, of course, maybe a little bit slower, but you can have them going one way if necessary. See, the trucks are still going up and down. You have to be organized with a little bit of traffic management. Maybe put a couple of people with the orange shirt. They control traffic. See, this still driving. If you are well organized, we have feedback from our customers. 8-meter wide road, you can finish 1 kilometer per day. If you are well organized, you got all the machines ready, the people know what they're doing. See, it's always important to have one man who is control of the operation, so he can tell the person, you're going right, go deeper, go higher, you go right, go left, so it's important to have somebody outside. Also the man in the cabin, of course, is controlling, but must be always one man responsible for these operations. In some cases there were rocks, when we ripped, see here all our rocks. He's just testing the working depth. Yeah, and at the end they just compact with the vibrating roller. These are just general pictures of other applications. I go quickly because it's not very important at the moment. See also here you can see they are recycling a road, only one side, but the traffic is still going. So you can keep the traffic flowing while you're working. Here they are using lime. It's another type of binder like cement. Here they are recycling some car park, asphalt road. This is in, I think in South America, they are recycling also roads. This is also in Australia with cement. This is a small job, only small patches of damaged road with a small machine from us, and they are doing also by hand here cement. Okay, this is interesting. This is a little bit of a cost analysis that was done by one of our customers in Australia, okay? This is the cheapest way to make a road, which is option A, where we are crushing the rocks, we have the water truck, we have the motor grader, we have the vibrating roller. Only 4 machines, okay? So, we are not adding any cement, we are not adding any chemical, okay? If you call, especially this is a customer which is a government in the south of Australia, and they have a lot of roads in remote areas, very remote, so like a mining area. If you have to call a contractor to work for a mining area, they charge a lot of money because he has to bring all the machines from outside. So this government decided to buy all the machines for himself, like, for example, you can do in the mines. When he was calling the contractors, he was charged between 18,000 to 21,000 Australian dollar per kilometer for 8-meter wide road. This is Australian cost, maybe different from Vietnamese cost, but just to give you understanding. After he bought our machine, this is, for example, here, our machine FAE STCH 200 SD with a big tractor, but can be with a prime mover, no difference. And then he had motor grader, vibrating roller, a water truck. Then he had 5 people, because 1 supervisor, 1 tractor driver, a water truck driver, grader driver, roller driver, okay? Then the material, he used limestone rocks up to 700 millimeter in diameter. He used clay and water. These are the parameters. The road is 8 meter wide. They work 200 millimeter deep. 1 kilometer of finished road per day. They were crushing about 2 to 500 cubic meter per hour of rocks with 15% clay and 180,000 liters of water per kilometer. These are all the costs that are involved for the government to make the road. All these costs, including the cost, of course, the fixed cost for the machines, financial cost, repayment of the machine, everything, all these costs, fixed plus variable, including fuel, including everything, they are about $8,000. So, of course, this is not a contractor, this is a government. So government only calculates cost in this case. But if you put also 20% or even 30% on top of this for contractor, if contractor is to do the job, still much cheaper than this price. So still about 50% cheaper than normal price they could charge in Australia for doing a job like that. So the first option, option A, very simple, very cheap. Because most of the materials you have already. The rocks you have, the water you have water trucks, the grader you have, the vibrating roller you have. You don't have rock crusher, but this is another point we'll discuss later. So, this is a little bit of final considerations. Especially in remote area, like mining or forestry roads or local government remote areas, we are very competitive because we don't have to bring any gravel. You can find rocks locally and use local rocks. Our technology is very easy to use and to maintain. Any mechanic or any operator can use our machine and do maintenance. It's very mobile, so inside the job site, like a mining operation, you can move the machine from place to place very easily. Okay? Go up, down the hill, wet condition, dry condition, no problem. It is a very productive machine. Like there are some big machines that are designed for road, but they are very, very expensive. Our machines can do the same results. Actually, they can do more because we crush rock. Most of the road machines that exist do not crush rock. They only mix the cement, mix the chemical, mix the rocks already crushed. So somebody, for the other machine, somebody has to crush rock before and bring them by truck to the job site. This is a lot of money. So we don't have to do this. We can use local rocks to make a better road. This is important, see? We can crush rock while traditional stabilizers cannot. Of course, we can, our machines is quite compact because even PT400 is under 3 meter of width. So it's 2.7 meter, I think, altogether. So it's not very big machine. In width, length is about 7 meters, 6 meters. So It's not big, so you can use half of the road still driving, okay? And you can move it around. Okay, and of course another important factor is that we are, I think, we use quite a green technology, environmental technology, because we recycle the existing rocks. We don't use extra fuel to crush the rock somewhere in the quarry, bring the rock from the quarry to the job site. There's a lot of fuel for the crushing machine at the quarry, for the trucks to go up and down, sometimes empty, come back. So in our case we use local rocks and we save fuel overall, the whole process. Okay? I don't know, do you have any questions? I have finished, so now it's up to you to start talking.
Vâng, và câu hỏi đầu tiên mà Vườn gửi tới chuyên gia Diego đó là độ nghiêng tối đa của các máy PT có thể lái trên xe là bao nhiêu?
Well, when you use a tractor, like you saw in many of these videos, you are limited. So when you use a PT, due to the low ground pressure and also to the crawler tracks, you can work continuously on the 35 degrees angle continuously, but also up to 40 degrees. If you stay too long in 40 degrees, if for like many 1 hour, then you might have problems with the oil in the engine. But 35 degrees, no problem. 40 degrees for some time, yes, you can work, no problem. What I've seen in the mine, no problem. You can work in all these conditions. There's no problem. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Diego. Và câu hỏi tiếp theo là địa hình nào mà các máy PT có thể sử dụng ở trên đó?
Well, as I said before, due to low ground pressure and the crawler tracks, we can work in any terrain. If it's wet, if it's dry, if it's up the hill, down the hill, no problem. No problem. And even if you get stuck, the machine has a winch at the back, hydraulic winch.
Kích thước lớn nhất hòn đá có thể nghiền được. Vâng, có nghĩa là về kích thước có lớn nhất của cái hòn đá mà cái máy này nó có thể nghiền được.
Okay, the maximum size can be even 1 meter if it's there. But for a normal operation, I recommend not more than half a meter diameter. This gives you a good productivity, because if you have too many big rocks, you are too slow. That's why you have to select.
Vâng, thế còn về độ cứng của đá thì như thế nào ạ?
Okay, that's a good question. Hardness of the rock actually depends on hardness of the rock determines sometimes the life of the hammers. I say sometimes because the hammers that we use in our machines have tungsten inserts, the big tungsten inserts. So we can crush virtually anything that is under the hardness of tungsten. But the harder the rock, the shorter the life of the hammers. So in conditions, for example, where you have limestone, like you saw some videos there, life of a hammer can... Yeah, no problem. Life of the hammers on limestone conditions can be 300 hours. Life of the hammers, for example, in a very hard basalt, can be, for example, 100 hours. So depending on the hardness of the rock, you have longer or shorter life of your hammers. But another important factor for wear of the hammers is not so much the hardness, also the silica content of the soil. If there is a lot of sand in the soil, sand is very abrasive. So there are some ways you can protect the hammers by doing some protection, weld protection on the hammers, but this is something we can talk about at a later stage. Now it's a little bit early to talk about these things, but we can talk about that later when the machines are maybe in the market, and we can, yeah.
Câu hỏi tiếp theo đó là với cái thiết bị này thì có thể lắp ráp cùng với các thiết bị hiện có tại Việt Nam mà công ty đã đi khảo sát tại Quảng Ninh, cụ thể là Quảng Ninh được không ạ?
The answer is no. Not because I don't want to do it. I want to do it if it's possible, but by experience, we have a lot of people ask this question. But I give you one important information. The crusher that we put in front of PT400 must receive an oil flow of about 550 liters per minute at 380 bar. 550 liters per minute of oil flow at 380 bar. Okay, so there is no machine available like a loader or something like that that has this hydraulic capacity in the market. The prime movers that we make have special pumps designed for this job. I'll give you another example. We have a PT600 as well, 600 horsepower. This machine has 770 liters per minute. So, and this flow has to be constant all the time. Okay. Most of the machines that are in use also in the mining, they are designed most to do loading and digging. They are not designed to operate implements. The other alternative, of course, is to use tractors, as you see in many videos. But you need a 300 horsepower tractors to do a good job in your conditions. But tractors have a limitation on the type of soil. So this is my answer to this question. I don't think it's possible.
Vâng, cảm ơn ông Idego. Và câu hỏi tiếp theo là để đảm bảo cái độ nén xấp xỉ đến 100% thì có thể dùng máy đo bằng máy PT hay là dùng bằng cái thiết bị khác?
No. There are some measuring tools, of course, to measure compaction levels. I can show you what you do when you crush the rocks the same size. This is the first thing. So you must have a very good homogeneity in the rocks, first thing. And to control that, you can control by making some sieve analysis. So remember when the people were taking material in the bucket in the video? When people take material in the bucket, they go in the laboratory and they make some tests. They make some tests on size of rocks, okay? And they can determine, there are some tools that are in the ground, some tools you put on top that determine the compaction level. So yes, there are some tools. Yes.
Yeah. Vâng, và cái mức độ tiêu thụ nhiên liệu trung bình là bao nhiêu trên một giờ?
PT 400 working on crushing rock, which is a hard job, will be easily around 65 liters of diesel per hour. Yeah, easy.
Vâng. Thế về cái chất lượng đường mà sau khi thi công, có nghĩa là khi mà có cái áp lực các cái xe nội tải có trọng là tải từ 60 tấn cho đến 91 tấn lên cái mặt đường thì có đảm bảo hay không?
In conditions like with dump trucks, we must try to work 300 millimeters in the ground, 30 centimeters. So if we can work 30 centimeters and we can get high level of compaction, the road quality will be good. But of course, how long it lasts depends on many things. Depends if you use cement. Depends if you use chemical products. So all these additives, they add life. But if you try to work 30 centimeters, you have a good road, yes.
Vâng, vậy cái phụ tùng mà thay thế khi hỏng hóc thì có dễ dàng không?
Well, spare parts availability, of course, will be organized through A&A Vietnam. And they are quite known, I think, for spare parts in Vietnam because they are very well organized. So they will be your contact people for service and parts.
Thế còn về lưu lượng và áp lực cho máy là bao nhiêu?
We discussed that before a little bit. When they asked if they can use local machines, they said, can we use your rock crusher with local machines? My answer was no, because of flow and pressure. Because we need a very high flow, and also, as you know in engineering, when the flow increases in any hydraulic system, when the flow increases, the pressure drops. Flow and pressure go the opposite way. So we need to we have to design a hydraulic system that is a compromise and gives us the right flow at the right pressure. That's what we need. Because flow gives us the speed of the drum, but the pressure gives us the horsepower, the torque, the power to crush. Okay?
Vâng, vậy thì làm thế nào để chúng tôi có thể kiểm soát được kích thước của đá nghiền?
Yes, we said that before. How you do usually, the machine has a breaker bar inside, a big breaker bar. So, when the rotor is turning, the rocks are crushed by the hammers against the breaker bar. Okay? Because sometimes you see in a Japanese TV show, Japanese food show, you know, MasterChef, they show that they throw the onions in the sky and they take a knife and they cut in the sky. This is only for film, it's not true. Only Japanese people can do this. Because it's not possible. You need to have a breaker bar that stops the material and the hammer breaks against, the rock crushes against the breaker bar. But then, by opening and closing the door, we control how much the material stays inside the chamber. So if the material stays in the chamber longer time, if it stays longer time, it's crushed smaller. If it stays less, it's crushed bigger. As I said as well before, I think in a situation like